All right, welcome to video lecture number 1 for a new unit in chemistry. And in this unit, we are going to talk about solutions. So before we get into any calculations or any really hardcore concepts, we first need to start with the very basics, which is a couple of definitions. So I'm just going to run through each of these words and their definitions, and then I'll get on to my example. So the first word is solute. A solute is the substance that is being dissolved into a solution. Solvent is the substance that is doing the dissolving. And a solution is a mixture of a substance that is uniformly distributed throughout another substance. So uniformly distributed means that it is equally spread out through the solution. So my example here, for a solute, the substance being dissolved, let's say that I have a packet of Kool-Aid powder, okay? My solvent, the substance that is going to then dissolve that packet of Kool-Aid powder, is going to be water. And then when I do mix the solute and the solvent, I produce a solution also known as Kool-Aid, okay? And then when you drink the Kool-Aid, right, let's say that I have some friends over and I have a pitcher of Kool-Aid and I fill up 5 cups for each of my friends, each person's Kool-Aid is going to taste the exact same because the Kool-Aid powder is distributed equally amongst the water in that pitcher, making every single glass that I pour from that pitcher taste the same. So that is a solution. So those are the very basics. So let's go through some more examples. I'm going to put a solution up on the screen, and maybe in your head you can try and guess the solute and the solvent along with me. So the first one we're going to look at is chocolate milk, and this is not like the chocolate milk you buy in the jug at the grocery store. This is going to be like homemade, the crappy homemade chocolate milk when you don't have any good stuff from the grocery store. So what are we going to dissolve in what to make that chocolate milk? So our solute, the thing that we are dissolving, is the chocolate syrup. And we are dissolving that chocolate syrup into milk to make our solution, which is chocolate milk, okay? So this is an example of dissolving a liquid in another liquid to make a solution. The one previous to this, the Kool-Aid, that is dissolving a solid into a liquid to make a solution. Okay, so there's different forms of solutions. This next one is going to be carbonated water. So what are we dissolving? What are we dissolving it in to make carbonated water? A lot of you might not know this one, but the solute, or the item being or substance being dissolved, is going to be carbon dioxide, a gas. And to make carbonated water, you dissolve that carbon dioxide into water to make your carbonated water. Okay, that's the same way that soda is made. You would dissolve carbon dioxide in that soda solution. Okay, so now this is an example of a gas being dissolved in a liquid to make a solution. So we've done a solid in liquid, we have done a liquid in a liquid, and we have done a gas in a liquid. And there are many other forms, but I'm just going to stick with solid, liquid, gas in another liquid to make a solution just for simplicity's sake. So let's do one more, my favorite. Let's talk about coffee. So coffee is an actual solution. You can probably guess the solute and solvent that would go towards making coffee. So our solute, or substance that is being dissolved, is going to be the coffee bean. And it's not the actual coffee bean that gets dissolved, it's more of some of the molecules that are contained in the coffee bean that get dissolved. And that gets dissolved in a solvent, which in this case again is water. Now, a quality of solutions Something that might come into your head when you think of a solution is going to be the concentration. A concentration, when we're talking about solutions, is how much solute is in a given amount of solvent. So let's say, for example, that someone is having a cup of coffee and they decide that they are going to put in 2 sugar cubes into that cup of coffee. Now let's take a second to look at what is the solvent and what is the solute in this example. The cup of coffee, even though in the last slide was our solution, it is now going to act as our solvent. Okay, and our sugar cubes are going to be our solute. Our sugar cubes are going to be dissolved by the coffee to produce a sweeter coffee solution. Okay, so that is 2 sugar cubes in 1 cup of coffee. But now let's say that I have another cup of coffee, and this time I put 4 sugar cubes into that cup of coffee. There's a big difference, right, in concentration of sugar between the last coffee cup with the 2 sugar cubes and this coffee cup with the 4 sugar cubes. This cup is going to have a higher concentration of sugar, therefore it is going to taste sweeter. Okay? Now just something to kind of throw out there, something to get you thinking. Let's say that someone just wakes up, right? They're not fully awake and they accidentally stir in more sugar than they normally like into a cup of coffee. How can they make that cup of coffee less sweet? So some of you might have thought of, oh, well, let's just take some sugar out, right? But once you put sugar into a hot cup of coffee, it's very difficult to get it back out because it almost instantly dissolves into that cup. So what we would have to do to make that coffee less sweet is we would have to add liquid to it. If we can increase the volume of solution that we have, that would make the overall solution contain less sugar per volume, which would make the coffee taste less sweet. So let's say I have my coffee cup, I have my coffee with too much sugar inside of it. I could pour half of that coffee into another mug so that I have about half of a mug in each of my cups. And then I could fill each of those mugs up completely with just plain coffee. That would make both of the coffee cups contain half the amount of sugar as the original and thus taste less sweet. And that is going to be it for video lecture number 1.